Good evening and welcome into the club rooms tonight, where we have our members show, and we answer and take all of your questions. I do my best job to try and give what answers I can. It's going to be one of those weeks where we are looking for a little bit of answers, but it's great to have everyone here to join in the discussion. Even if you're not a member, if you want to become a member and join the chat and get your questions answered, please follow the link in the go to the YouTube page, click join, choose whatever level you want to be a part of. But we are looking forward to having you in here. Just want to welcome in people as they're coming through the door, especially T Mackie and Tans from Warriors Fan TV, who I just seen they're having their stream as well. So good to see you, Tans. Hope you've been well wherever you've been. And just a heads up for anyone in the chat, I have pinned the message that if you would like to come to the Wise Up meet and greet, it is about a month away. Actually, we're going to have it for Ash, who's making the trip over, hosting it at Lily Worlds, right next to Mount Smart Stadium, from 1 to 2:30 p.m. on the 26th of July. If you can make it, and if you want to be a part of it, the link to the tickets are there. We've got food and beverage provided as part of your ticket. We've got goodies bags. We might have someone visiting, but it's just a great opportunity to meet all your fellow members and people that subscribe to Wise Up TV. We can't wait, and absolutely excited about that. And yeah, Bailey, post by Jitters, back to the regular schedule program against the Broncos. Let's hope so, Bailey. Definitely think that should be the case. Welcome in, guys. Yeah, make your way in. Start to put your thoughts out there in the chat. And I'm gonna, for those that haven't watched my video, I did drop a video earlier on. I finally, I was up in the Hokianga for Matariki weekend episode. Fantastic time with the whānau. And we made it back last night. And so I watched the game with some other whānau as well, which was awesome, but not in detail. So I got back and watched a bit more detail last night, a little bit today, and kind of got my understanding of what I think went wrong, or what went, what the layout of the game, how things went. So I'm happy to share that with you guys. Just want to welcome in Chris, Kia ora, everyone. Hope everyone as well enjoyed their Matariki weekend. Yes, absolutely, man. And hope everyone wherever you may be, and had a good weekend. Mackie saying, was that the game once the injury to DWZ happened where players out of position? Yeah, that's a great talking point, Mackie. Something we can definitely discuss. Inspector, good to see you, my friend. And Metcalf's leg issue. Yeah, it's actually surprising. A lot of kind of things unfolded right from that game and compounded upon themselves. I'll probably start off with I want to acknowledge Penrith. And maybe in the chat, chuck in something that you think Penrith did well. What was something that you thought, we have to acknowledge our opponents, and I made sure to watch them play, and specifically, in rugby league, especially when you're watching a Warriors game, you sometimes focus purely on just how the Warriors play. But there are two sides to every game, isn't it? So I actually put attention onto the Penrith side, and they were really, really sharp. Firstly, their tempo out of the ruck, they're running in and behind the ruck, trying to build tempo, speed, ruck speed. They're very good at that, very physical. Then defensively, very physical as well. I felt like they were very dominant. I don't think we've come up against a pack like that probably since the Raiders, or others like Melbourne, the teams that we've obviously clearly lost to, that really stuck it at us like that, and were dominant. And got to give credit to them. From that first 20, they just were relentless. The tempo, like I said, the speed. And then I thought the outside backs were good. If you looked at Casey McLean and Jenkins, their movements were very, very solid defensively. Likewise, Alamotti was hard to deal with. Laurie did his job at the back, saved a few things. So an all-round performance. In the halves, let's call it, be honest, this probably might be the most poignant point that I made. The halves were better than us, and they weren't even great. So take that as you will. But that's kind of just to point out how that game looked and how it went. but I will give them a massive rap. Just want to quickly shout JD. Welcome in, JD. Thanks for becoming a YouTube member, man. Jump in the chat. Let us know your thoughts as well. We'd love to hear what you're doing. Looks like you had a good time in the snow there. What's that, Ruapehu? Hope you're doing well, man. Jump in the chat, man. Thank you for becoming a member. Mackie saying Penrith are, of course, the perfect system team. I think the GF will be Storm Panthers again. Wow. See, that's your Mackie. You're pretty much saying that they're building something, aren't they? And to think that they have lost all those players and plus the Origin players and come and put a performance like that. Like, look, they will just, irrespective of their reserve grade teams, however you decide to dice it up, that middle of Leota, Gardner, Lindsay. I keep forgetting the. If you can chuck it in the chat, please. The hooker's name. That middle pack, and then Sorensen yet and there, Papali'i. They when you put the names together, and if they're in form, and then you're starting to think, wow, these guys actually are a solid pack. You can't deny that. Plus their experience. So I got to give them a lot of credit, man. To say they'll go grand final again, wow, that's saying a lot. But I wouldn't put past them to go on a run like that. I think of all the great teams in sports history, Chicago Bulls, Jordan. I'm sure they had years where they were poor in the regular season, and then they just timed their run to go. You know, they kick on and start to, and they come playoffs time, and they just dominate again. You could be right. Crusaders, they just won another 14th Super Rugby title, timed their run. I haven't watched much Super Rugby, but every time you hear Crusaders in the grand final, you just know it's going to be that type of thing. So credit to them. Want to acknowledge them. Yeah, Leota was very strong. Team Maker saying they had weeks knowing that they would be without their stars, and that made them unpredictable. Very fair, very fair. And Capewell was massive. We missed him defensively so much. Yes, definitely. Mackie, this is a good one. We'll get to that. I definitely want to talk about that. Remind me. I just want to get to kind of focusing on the Penrith part of it. Then we'll hit our boys very much so. But I do want to talk TMM. Hey Nick, man, appreciate that. Yeah, let's just hopefully by the end of our stream tonight, we should have some answers. And I don't, again, me and Ash, we're very similar, very level-headed. Sometimes I'm more so in the mire of, our performances at times. But once I watch the tape back and watch it in slow-mo and all that, I get a fair deal of where the problem issues are. Then it's just a matter of fixing them, right? But Mitch Kenny, that's the kid, man. That's again, like once you add those pieces together, it's very, very tight. Hey, Southside, man, good to see you, bro, and appreciate your comment too on the video. Thank you very much, man. KC Chiefs, Florida, yeah, exactly. Again, it's the timing of the run. When you get into that kind of level, like with Ivan, they'll know now the big points of the season. I think that's something Webby's going to work on, is knowing when you make your statement games, when to make your run. I allude back to 23 where we faded, like let's call it what it is. Even though we won that night's game, we were pretty much done by the end of that season. I think physically and mentally in many ways that led to the Broncos game. But you want to be able to time your run when you become a solid playoff team. And I think we'll get there, but this is a great learning for us. If Metcalf is out injured, I would prefer Boyd to start over TMM. I think Boyd has more game experience this year at 7, whereas TMM has. Yeah, I have no issue with that, Inspector. Definitely, we'll talk about that soon, and we'll get to that whole discussion. But I totally agree. We're bouncing on lucky balls, bounces of the ball. Their halfback Schneider was bad though. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, Mackie. He he looked the better half in that game, in my opinion. And I understand Metcalf was injured, and you can use all of that, but with what both halves did, the ball, Schneider was the better one, unfortunately. But Yeah, they were. They did get lucky. We can't fault that, but there were some massive, things we could have diffused. The Alamori try at the end, like why couldn't we have shut that down ourselves? Sorensen bagging a double and his catch off of Valeka, just hungry, 50-50s. They got a lot of those. They got a try off of Dallin being injured. So they got lucky for sure, but they did make they were there in the right places in terms of they were physical the whole game, I thought. But yeah, credit to them. Let's now track to our boys. I want to start off by saying that for the majority of the game, it was a tit for tat game. I think there's a tendency because it's because it seemed as though we were playing a Panthers team without their 5 starters or 6 starters or whatever it is, that we were supposed to go and absolutely deal to them. And I think everyone felt that, in the comments, it was 13 plus. Myself, I was like, oh, we should get over the line 1 to 12. Although I was thinking, look, they'll be solid. They are always a solid outfit. Having a similar system in terms of a grind out style, they'll know what to deal. They train pretty much our same model. So that, taking that into account, when you looked at the style of play, they pretty much they did a Penrith on on us, or what we try and do in terms of grind. They were there for the grind. They were there for the whole type of thing. So I think a lot of that comes into account. But also for us, like the compounding nature of Marata going off, it just turned the what I suppose is called the rotations, how they were intended to be. It turned the flips quickly, and then with the Dallin injury, kind of exposed the whole Tamaide situation off the bench. I think the Tamaide situation off the bench, for me, if you're going to have a forward kind of get an HIA or whatever it was, and then an outside back injury, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it the way that Webby did it. I probably would have done it. Some that have mentioned put CHT into center, or you could have gone CNK, but CNK was tearing it up. I understand keeping him there for consistency's sake. He was the only one really getting us out of our own end. He was inspired in his running, but it was very, very, some of those changes started to compound, and it just, I felt we threw a massive, trying to throw a haymaker or a big punch with the Laban try, and then quickly you saw that kind of got overturned when Sorensen went over, and then it all flipped its lid. But yeah, we'll get into that. I'll get back to the chat as I see people really starting to coming in now. My thoughts are Panthers were just more hungry than us. I did mention last week we have too many buys together. One play that summed it up was CNK not attacking the high kick led to that try. Yeah, I definitely agree. Another one of my points was energy. We were all over the shop. Penrith came in full energy, ready to get the dub, hungry, fight for everything, and we were like really trying to find our feet in that first 20, and then we kind of found some moments where we settled, but they really, really came in hungry, man. I got to give them massive credit. Good to see you, Daniel, man. Hope you've been well. Welcome in. And Tahi, as always, thank you, man. We appreciate you. Next thing, the Panthers took that game personal. Injuries didn't help either. Yeah, they took it personal. They were hungry. You could tell. And the response afterwards, again, it goes to, there is a psyche about winning away games. Remember when Canberra came here and they were so pumped they beat us at home? And you can see the same energy with Penrith. They're like, yep. And Penrith specifically needing that to kind of bounce and kickstart their season. They must be feeling really good about themselves right now. So true, Inspector. The Panthers aimed up and got smashed by injuries. Metcalf was just the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah, I agree with that, but also, I get the injury factor, but the injury factor can't always be for everything. I thought the halves before that were poor at times. I mean, I think Metcalf kind of botched the fifth tackle option where he cut back inside and kicked in Laurie, got him. But, it's just some I thought he could have gone for a grabber in behind. CHT kind of had a short side play on the fifth, and it was already covered. There was no way. They kind of forced it down that channel, and they got a 7 tackle set. Not taking away there was good stuff, but at the same time, like what they did with the ball that they had, they definitely weren't executing at a high level. I mean, MGT drops a ball off a simple out the back. Oh, I think it was CNK. There was a lot of errors as well and penalties that were just uncharacteristic. But that's kind of where I'm at with it as well. You have to have a balance with it as well. Sorensen, man, he was fantastic. I'd honestly take TMM at half over Boyd and bring Healy on the bench. Yeah, that's the plight, isn't it? People that view TMM has no kicking game and that he's a bit of that type of player. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I mean, I like TMM. I'll probably go for Boyd just in the situation that he's played a lot of 7. He's kind of the guy that's been working through cup, so it's a natural swap. And look, why not give him a look at the Broncos, see if he's actually overcome some of those demons in his career, that he can be a first grader. Chuck him in for the Broncos game and see what he actually has. We might, I think it might be worth to throw him in there if Metcalf is injured and see, do we have a genuine backup 7? If we do, then we can, if Metcalf is still kind of not feeling right, let him roll through in the next couple of games. That we want. I think everyone wants to know how Tanner Boyd looks at first grade. He's killing it at cup level. That's fantastic, but we want to see that. So that's my only argument, Southside, is that we'll just give him that opportunity, and maybe, if we're going to still use the TMM 14 option, then that's where he stays at that time. But yeah, just something to think about. Absolutely fantastic. Sorensen carved, yeah, he was hungry, Sorensen. Buys injuries and false sense of superiority. The false sense of superiority, is something that has always plagued the Warriors, no matter how much, and it always usually happens at home when you just feel that little bit of comfort, and the other team's coming and traveling overseas. It just always seems to bite us. The buy, I had a good talk with the man Tater or Healy season on TikTok. Go give him a follow if you want to. Big into analysis like me as well, but he's saying how CHT said they had 7 days off or something like that in his One Warrior podcast. That might be just finding a time for a break. And my argument for that is cool. You have a break. Yes, you have a slip up against Penrith, but we can't afford to do that continually off of buys. We've got one more buy after this Broncos game. I need to hit that ground running. I can't have another. We had a week off and we chilled and we weren't quite there. So let's get that fixed. The boys had their holiday. And the next buy for me personally, let's keep powering through. We're going to push this last part of the season. Yeah, tell me about it, man. Crusaders won as well. It's one of the it's one of those annoying things, isn't it? I was hoping the Chiefs would win, but yeah. Crusaders at home in the final. Just don't, bet your house on it. They'll get it done. Kia ora, Hosea, man. Hope you're doing well, brother. Yeah, Tahi. It will. Capes for communication, show up our defense. We definitely missed them, man. Sorry, that's one of my points with the compounding influence of the game. Shout out to MGT, respect him, but that was a rough game for him. The bet back off of from Pompey to him, and he bobbled it. Like, I was thinking, why were you not? It wasn't a tough bobble. Like, it wasn't a tough tap back, in my opinion. I was thinking, bro, that's basics. How do you muff that? And then a few other plays where, Casey McLean. Credit to Casey, he's a good player, but for a fact, Berry would have made that tackle at 1-on-1. He kind of fell to the floor too quickly. That gave it easy for Casey. So there's just some moments I just thought, yeah, this is you've done well coming up before, but it seems as though the level is just maybe a bit too much for him. And wish him well with the Rabbitohs, but that and it wasn't helped by having a an edge maybe he's not familiar with or hasn't played with Dallin much, and so and like I say many times, on the edges you fall victim to what the middles do, and maybe he got caught out like that. But there were some different areas I'm thinking, and you could have been better than that. Thank you as always, guys. Hit that like button. Let's get up to minimum 50 and then aim for 100 if we can. Thank you very much. Also, I have this theory that playing at 5 p.m. in NZ is not good for us. Slippery and dewy night. I just think we're suited to day of if we just think a minute. Yeah, I mean, there was one example where Schneider broke the line, and I think Lecker had slipped. He had he really slipped over, and Schneider made that line break. Lucky they didn't score, but it was a massive yeah. Someone on some Warriors forum said that Metcalf's uncle's like those Metcalf's uncle who's related to. Oh well, we'll wait and see. Might be right. I wouldn't doubt it. If it's a cork, it seemed like it was a cork. You can play through corks, but if they want to, prevent that, give it some time. Then let Tanner Boyd have a crack. If Metcalf is out, I would go Boyd TMM since they have chemistry and UCHT as a 14 for a one-off game. That could be a shot, Mickey. It could be a definite shot. And look, this is a game before a bye. You might catch Brisbane a bit off the pace. I doubt they'll do that. I think they want to continue fluidity going into a bye. But why not see Boyd? Like everyone's been praising his kicking game. Everyone's been praising him. Well, put him on the field, in my opinion. Give him a crack. If he's got that game, let the boy cook. So let's wait. Let's wait to see that. Hey Ted, man, good to see you, bro. I think we let them get on top of us, and the forwards didn't help with both the injuries had. I don't think we let them, but they dominant. They were clear on the intent. Like if I looked at a lot of their defensive movements, everything was rock solid. Their middles were just physical and dominant, and we just didn't quite have it. First tried his heart out. Once Marata went off, it kind of messed with things. Forwards did well. If you actually looked, I looked at the numbers. I was thinking, because we didn't really make much impact, even off the bench. Once the injuries happened, it kind of neutralized what our intentions off the bench would have been. But all our top forwards made 40 tackles. It tells you how physical and dominant Penrith were, that we were tackling that much. So Egan made 40. I think Fish made 40. Clark did 40. Ford did 40, and I think, and then even MGT, going back to the MGT thing, did 26 tackles. That's how much he was kind of targeted. So great game plan from Cleary. But the compounding nature, definitely when you have injuries, it's hard to pull the game back, man. Sure. Yeah, Boyd for the long kicking game, got no issue with that. Absolutely. I think Boyd's kicking game this year has been strong, and we're in a spot position there where we can take a punt and give him a shot. Yeah, give him a crack, man. Like I say, let the boy cook. If he's cooking, let's see if he can cook it at first grade. Absolutely. Time saying we're missing 2 leaders out there. Kate Wells' voice was definitely missed. Kate Wells was missed. I definitely agree with that. I know for a fact if Kate Wells was out there, we would have been right on the right edge, I think. Metcalf was being too much of a worry. Look, for me, Metcalf was quiet early on, and then he was quiet, post injury. So I think probably you could have argued put TMM in there, or you could have done something. But I think what happened was with Dallin getting injured, he had to play. He just had to play. Tanner will step up. Fair enough. Just back on that TMM point, let me know in the chat if you think of this. I actually low-key like Pompey's kicking more than Metcalf's. And I know Metcalf is the kicker. He will be. But for whatever, when I see Pompey kick the goals, I feel safer for some reason. I don't know if it's a psychological thing because I've seen Metcalf miss him up. But I do think Pompey has a nice strike of the ball. He has, 2023, the prelim, he muffed quite a few. But he has got a good strike on him. And I felt confident with his kicking. Just from pure gut feeling. Jose going, they could either go TMM at 7, Healy at 14, or Boyd at 7, TMM at 14 or snub TMM altogether, have Boyd Boyd at 7 and Healy at 14. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people would want. I think everyone wants Boyd to have a crack, and I do too. I want to see what he's all about, and why not? But um, I would try and keep it just maybe one change. I would actually keep. So if Boyd comes in, I either keep TMM at 14, or yeah, if you want to go Healy for a 4-man forward type bench, TMM drops out and fine. I actually want to keep CHT there for consistency on that edge. Keep that structure going, in my opinion. Up the Saders, yeah. Man, sick of those guys. Too much one out running does my head in. Yeah, that was another thing I got frustrated with. Is that a lot of our play was just sort of one out, one out, one out, and then the halves would only get onto the ball in late situations. I think the halves could have been more on the ball, more intentional with their attack. Seems that we're falling for the crossfield bomb at times a bit too much when we're attacking goal line. Would love to see a bit more variety. But I can understand that Tans. I mean, it's pretty much the game plan out of yardage, isn't it, to get up the field? But we have to find some solutions in goal line just to mix it up to keep teams on their toes. You know what I mean? There were definitely some options there. I mean, Lecker bombed one. There's a few other options where the boys dropped the ball. So who knows what that could have been like if the attack had kind of picked up. Radiant, man, good to see you, my friend. Welcome into the team. Great to have you here. That chilled the Union lads out south when they went to mock the house, but my reply by the Chiefs lost. Yeah. And she actually does some real good tackles in first. After Metz injured himself, our attack lost all of its shapes. Not saying excuse, but that danger of having one dominant playmaker. Yeah, and if Metcalf went down, I would expect CHT to pick up a bit. And it's not, I just felt that I think the game was difficult to get in, but I just wanted a little bit more from my halves. Just something. We just were missing some intent in what we were doing, and once I felt like we weren't going to catch that lead once they created it, but it wasn't to be. But something that you want to see a little bit more from our halves for sure. Not gonna lie, I was calling McLean Casey Makata this year because man does not like to pass, but credit to him, he can pass. He's a good player, bro. He's a really good player, Casey. He I rate him highly. You look at a lot of his defensive movements off the ball, fantastic. There wasn't much for Dallin and MGT with how he was moving, for sure. Thank you, Radiant Man. Hey, we appreciate that. It's your favorite spot. We appreciate having you, man. We do. We really do. I was just saying that the DWZ should have laid down when he got injured, would have made the Panthers turn inwards and maybe could have covered. Yeah, that whole situation, I did a little video on that on Instagram. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what the ruling is on that. I don't even know why he tried to get back up. He should have just stayed down and maybe the ref blows the whistle. There's other options too. I know you run the risk of a sin bin, but what troubled any one of our players jumping out and trying to slow the ruck down or trying to go for an intercept and stop the play and then let us kind of get DWZ off the field. There's a whole host of things. I mean, I don't want to get into the whole. I think people use the hip drop as an excuse type thing. That's not. Yeah, for sure, it was hip drop and all that, but when you're in the moment like that, you have to be better. You have to find solutions that will work. You have to be aware that, for me, MGT, I don't know who called that for MGT to go to the wing and then Dallin to sit at center. Like, the fact that he even tried to come and make the take, like, MGT should have just stayed out there, stayed in the center position, or CNK could have dropped down. There was a few, I think there was just a lack of communication and like responsibility, accountability, what was going to happen, how were we going to deal with it, and it kind of unfolded the way it did. And probably the worst possible way. How bad is Newcourt's injury? I'm not too sure, but I've heard some were saying that it might not be an HIA, which I'm thinking, well, maybe it's a facial injury. It could be cheekbone, maybe, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, I think Tane should technically be back off of his 11-day stand down. Rocco was technically due back. Yeah, I think he's due back this week. I thought he was due back last week, but he's actually due back this week. Look, we would love them right now, wouldn't we? I mean, I've been kind of saying Rocco needs to go to Cup. Man, it's all hands on deck at the moment. Maybe he needs to come in. So, look, it's one of those things right now that we have to think. But Tane, for me, I feel comfortable bringing Tane in on the wing. It's kind of one of those things. I just don't think this was Dallon's season. I'm not gonna label it fully, but it feels as though like he just kind of isn't fitting into the team. And that's even me included with Minash saying that when he's making his reads are actually decent. He's doing his best in his role, and a lot of the edge issues aren't on him. Just hasn't felt right for him. He hasn't quite been firing on all cylinders. Tane is someone I would take back. But yeah, there's again those shortcomings we talked about, the June 30 cutoff. Why not go and get an outside back that could do a pretty good job? But I think the solution is going to be internal and probably going to be Tane at this stage. Sorry, just join the chat. What do you think led to the loss, bro? I felt the boys thought this would be an easy one. There's that Radiant, definitely. They thought. I think the first 20 they got the kind of a rock like, oh, Panthers are really up for this, and they were off the pace. But I honestly put it down to. This was the point I forgot to make, but I put it down to that 20. We kind of had that 2024 syndrome. When we were about to put pressure on them, we actually dropped the ball. When we were about to build some kind of get into the grind in terms of our defense and our position, we gave away penalties. Ford gave away a soft penalty. CHT gave one away, which I didn't agree with, but at the end of the day, it was a penalty. There was the Ford one at the end of the game. There was other ones. Lack of detail in terms of the crossfield kick that Sorensen got. We could have done better there. The one that Alamotti scored off of, and Alamotti nearly got another one when he for 1 minute after the second half, run into the second half. Combinative of errors again with the whole Dallin situation. Like it was just a compounding effect from the injuries, but also just compounding lack of mental awareness. C&K dropped 2 bombs. So, it was just a lot of things going on that and Penrith, yeah, I do agree. Luck of the bounce for them, but also they delivered through the middle. That ultimately got them in the game, in my opinion. They really broke the middles down. Injury, no, Rocco said available. Yep, let's hope so. Agree with this, mate. Yeah, just lie down. Just lay down. I mean, plenty of teams have lain on the ground, and Melbourne, just any team. If you sit on the ground, they'll stop the play. They can't play through someone getting injured like that. But there's actually a good argument. Even someone said when Metcalf put the kick over, he should have known that there's a potential to be counterattacked on that same side that Dallin wasn't there. So I don't think MGT or Laban were aware that they were a man short down there, or they didn't have comms, or they didn't know what There should have been a push in from forward. I think there was those three. There should have been something to let them know that Casey McLean was free down the right side. Left-hand side. So it's a lot of those things as well. It's like bad communication, just a lack of, they weren't there. I think they'll probably look back on it and say, man, we were right off the pace. I've always high-key preferred Pompey kicking. Yeah, I just like the way he kicks the ball. I feel that his kicking style, and it's not, and I just, at least even if they continue in Metcalf, I know that Pompey's there, that he can do a job. But for my own personal taste, I prefer Pompey's way of kicking. Nah, CHT's got to be the worst, bro. It has to be, man. After what I saw last year, Metcalf, it'd probably be for me. It'd probably be Metcalf, Turpicki, Pompey, yeah. I reckon Pompey's kicking's up there. I haven't seen Turpicki's at first grade level, but that's just my view. uh, yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. They're hard to believe, but yeah, just from a pure, if I want to kick to win a game, who am I taking? I'm definitely taking Metcalf. Um, I'm still not worried though. I don't think our attitude was terrible. We just weren't on mentally. Very see we, but in the presser, yeah, we weren't there, and yeah, I'm not phased by it. There were a lot of good signs too. I've spoken about on my video. I talked about Laban. Some of his inside line, underneath lines were fantastic. Like Dimitric was great too. He had some good short balls, and there's really good signs. I mean, Leka, even though he had a lot of errors and stuff, he's still playing at an 80-minute clip and giving his best. There's a lot of positive signs there. We're getting legs. We're getting things through Tannistyle Smith now that he may pop in and out once people come back, and we got someone ready to be in the playoffs. So there's a lot of positives too, man. But I definitely agree, man. We'd be upset with that. Yeah, welcome into these brothers, man. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, he was upset. He was massively upset. You could tell he wanted to get that whatever, but credit where credit is due. Oh, he broke his nose. Yeah, okay, so that might be he might be out, isn't it? Which would push someone like a Ford and Passport. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. I would rather Tane. I think for that specific edge, I would like Tane personally. Yeah, I can understand Cost being confident. I actually love Cost too, but if Tane isn't doing too well after the HIA, you got to go Cost. I'll live with that. I'm fine with that. Yeah, that was off the CHT kick. I just thought that was forced and there was nothing on, and they kind of, you know, so yeah, I think there were some moments we really dropped the ball as well. Yep, they picked up. They really lifted. They lifted at the right times too. If you think about their moments, they nailed it. See, this was my other peeve as well. MGT on a 2-on-1 throws the ball to Tom Jenkins, who goes for the intercept but drops it. Second half, I would have been like, okay, Jenkins is going to be kind of aggressive, dummy through the line, and once you get through, then offload once he's gone past the point of the ball. And then CNK passes pretty much the intercept to Jenkins, and then that leads to the Talangi try. It was just those little details, like surely you guys would be kind of earmarking like Jenkins is aggressive tonight, or he has an aggressive tendency to go for the intercept. Let's dummy and go. And it was only second tackle, so I was thinking, just let dummy and go, see what his reaction is. If you can get past the line, give it to Pompey, give it to Pompey. But to waste that opportunity on second tackle and then straight away they score was like, just isn't our night tonight. Feels like a lot of things were just a little bit off from what I was seeing. Penrith weren't flashy either. They made plenty errors, but we just couldn't. Yeah, it was. Again, I just give them credit. Like they were just. They nailed it. They nailed. What they needed to do. And like I said, their halves weren't the greatest, but they were the best halves on the field, which is saying a lot. Yeah, they had some solutions there, but again, I think it was like TMM for me. That's what I've said is not a center. That was a game. If you want to do, if you wanted something, it would have been a Walker. Walker could have easily gone to center and done a job. So TMM being your 14 utility isn't the solution to solving everything. what a Walker could do in terms of just mix and match. I can survive out here. Remember, Walker played games at like center where he survived, where he done a job. Games at 6, he can do a job for you, Walker. Tamati isn't it? He's very much like he's doing some work at hooker. It's not the greatest work. He's definitely a 5'8" or a half. He's one of those guys. So don't think that we're finding much solutions with it. And it's not to discredit Tamati, but it's just not his natural game. So it's something that needs to be addressed or thought about moving forward. Laban was fantastic. I actually think, for me personally, I thought CNK and RTS was really good. And my argument for that was, and I'm only hypothesizing this, but I was thinking, why does everyone else kind of look flat and not there? CNK, RTS, looked very sharp in their work. And I was thinking it's probably because they are the two best prepared individual preparation. RTS is so detailed in his preparation for his games. CNK is very detailed in his prep as well. It's like I feel like their internal, intrinsic, attitude of preparing for a game showed that they were ready for the match. Where some other players, I think, going through the motions a little bit. But that's kind of how I see it. But it was great to see a Laban had some really good moments. His try, his lines underneath, defensive work, physicality. He's a very good player coming through. Laban and capable to start. Leka, Demi, TSS, and Team Mem on the bench. Laban was solid starting. Yeah, he was. He's very good. Hey, Hunter, good to see you, man. Feel like the game was the week after the Sharks and played in Aussie, the boys would have won. It was perfect momentum, but died with the bye. Yeah, it just, again, going back to they just kind of faded a little bit, eh? They just kind of just fell off a little bit. That's how I see it anyway. Yeah, Kate Well, definitely. We miss Kate Bell. And again, guys, when we take Kate Well out of the piece, you take Mitch Barnett out, you take out Marata. Now, you are starting to see some cracks in levels. Like MGT for me was clearly a level low, a level too low. Like when you've seen Tanner Smith come in and Dimitri and all these boys come in this year, they've been at the level. But they've had the supports. But MGT for me was just lacking a little bit. Yeah, Jacko might actually have to start. He might actually have to start. Yeah, Tungle was good too. Gotta give credit to him. That was the other centre, yeah. I know Tungle played back row, I think, now. Yeah. Oh, or was he the lefts? That was Casey. He must have played back row, Tungle. Yeah, he was good. CNK, TT, well, okay, this is your team. CHT, Boyd, Fish, Egan, TSS. TSS to start. Laban Liquor, Clark is my predictor. 13 tomorrow. TMM by Maunga Ford, Eremia Toyava on the bench. The elusive Eremia Toyava finally gets his debut. Yeah, that's just one of my thoughts. Push through. But I feel Webster needs to pull the trigger with Healy at 14. Yeah, I agree. For me, TMM, he's either a fullback, he's either a half. But again, this is the quagmire of I'm not even sure that's the right word, but this is the plight that Webby's in. If he puts in Healy, he needs cover for the other positions. He needs Capewell to pretty much be on the field. But there are solutions in terms of you could get a Tane in there. Maybe there's fullback, like there's different parts of the field. It's just a I don't know. It is quite tricky. I get where you're coming from. I have no issue with it, but pull the trigger and let's see. It'd probably be best to see right now. As you're going into a Brisbane game with a kind of a team that's a bit, if injuries are what they are, then definitely. Penrith completion rate was what they reflected they really reflected how we could build no pressure. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like they weren't the most fantastic team either, and that's what I'm saying. I was critical a little bit of the halves, based on the fact that they weren't that great, Penrith. We just didn't do anything to break them down, or it was one of those games where we just kind of we were almost there. We were about to build into something, and then we released the valve. It was like I say, it's a 2024 game, a little bit. Team member biggest attribute is ball playing skills. If he comes on, it's got to be where all the action is. He's wasted out on the edge. Yeah, and the argument for Boyd is that Boyd's been playing in that same system every week. As I said, I would let Boyd go for it, man. At a 7, I'd keep CHT there. Probably bring Healy in. Agree with its passport. It's just one of those things that Webby's got to make that call. HQ, how you doing, my man? Bro, I hate watching me be on a 10-game winning streak, and then one game we slip up, they start praising the opposite team. Become a talking point. I hate this biased media. Look, NRL 9 is pretty much centered around Sydney, right? A lot of these things, it's about the Sydney clubs. That's what generates the clicks for them on articles and views. They're only mentioning us because we're in that top 4 and they had to. But they'll take anything to get a Penrith. A Penrith, for them, they need that media story to say, Penrith the real deal. They need that Penrith story to add to that Sydney media hype that kind of generates a lot of their interest. So it's just one of those things, bro. It really is. It is a pet peeve. But they're there for the clicks, bro. Purely for the clicks. Thanks, guys. Laban was our best player and Jenkins was theirs. But next week, Superman is back. I mean, Kate Wah. Kate Wah's fantastic, man. Only option with Healy at 40 is pick a back row on the bench who can play centre. That would be IT Fatiolov. That is a great call, Mackie. That is a great call. Having a genuine back row on the bench. So, yeah, that would actually kind of alleviate a lot of that pressure. And then you could go K-Bell to cover centres. Tane, if he plays, to cover fullback. Pompey can cover the wings. Healy coming to 14, obviously. You just got no halves cover technically. You just have to run without, any pure halves cover. And then the rest should, sort itself out. That's probably where it stands right now. Oh, yeah. Tell you, I've always known that would be crazy if it's almost like they don't want it to happen. But I think this time they're actually appreciating the Warriors a little bit more. I know other podcasts give us a fair rap, like Halves and Bloke and all those guys. The guys you've been terrorizing, apparently from Scope. Sure as you fellas. Giving Scope a hard time. Nah, I don't think it was you guys, Dave, but some of the Warriors fans were giving them a hard time and they got upset. Do you think Fish being nervous had these? Did he say he was nervous? I'm not too sure. Yeah, it could have been. I mean, it's a massive thing for him, isn't it? He's come from a club that he's won 4 premierships with, and he's trying to prove a point that he can keep up with them and that he's going to be this leader. Yeah, I'm sure that got to him. Did he have a sway? Probably. I mean, he wasn't able to have his natural interchanges, and so he kind of got pushed a little bit. Wasn't his best game, but I think it's one of those things, you know what I mean? It probably did get to him a little bit. I can just see there what you said. You did say in the press. Thanks, Stans. Yeah. Definitely could see that. The IT would be good because he can play second row. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You start to find solutions. Good point by Mackie as well. Yeah, Egan at a pinch could cover the halves. I suppose that's the only way you got to break it down, right? Egan becomes your halves cover. And if you can live with that, I think so. I think you agree with it. I think the attitude amongst Aussie Rugby League media about the Warriors will truly change when we finally win our first start. Yeah, you have to. It always has to be. I think it will always find it sits outside of their scope. Again, just that Sydney media market. I mean, Melbourne has to be addressed because their history says it, and they consistently, for the last 20 years, have been in that space. I mean, probably the best example might be the Raiders, who kind of sits outside of it. But once they're, I mean, they got guys like Ricky who are always a good for an article or headline, but they kind of sit out of that periphery as well if they're doing poorly. I mean, the Tigers, if you watch 360, they're the most talked about team, and they're probably one of the worst teams in the comp for the last couple of years. But they're absolutely hit in terms of their board members having issues, what their CEO says. They're always a constant headline. What's his name? Blimmin, the 5'8" that left there. Um, it's like 360 loves the Tigers. Um, so I think when you're doing the right things as well, people want to acknowledge you, but a lot of their media is driven by negativity. A lot of their media is driven by gossip, and we're not one of those clubs that generates a lot of off-field. I mean, the biggest one I remember on 360 was when Nathan Brown was kind of leaving the club, and it was. But since then, we've had one. What our CEO came out and said, what the refs are crap, and apart from that, we haven't generated anything too negative from what I remember. But yeah, prove them wrong, man, and then that might change. Superman in theaters July 11th. There you go. You heard it first. Oh, there we go. Thank you, man. Appreciate it, guys. Yeah, let's get to that to minimum 50, and if we have 50, get to the 100 mark. Yeah, that's a great point. And like again, this is why Wise Up TV exists in many ways. You got other outlets because we can deep dive about the team that we love. Yes, we would love the mainstays to acknowledge our team more in depth, but it's credit to the internet now and the way of content's created that we can have spaces like this. But it's cool to see guys like Bloke, Guru, Levels. I think there's a whole bunch of others that really do give it a. Devlin does his thing. The New Zealand media is starting to really get on it. We're starting to get our own shows with SJ. So the content spaces for the Warriors, in particular in NRL in New Zealand, is growing, which is great to see. You see Webster State, our best trainer every day is Tanner Boyd being an NRL threat with the ball. He's a real big reason why we're winning at NRL 11, even though he hasn't played a game. There you go. That's pretty much saying if Metcalf's out for me, he's in there. When you get that rep from your coach. I just appreciate that we've got room to move between the top 4, 5, and 8. We're on the 24th. Broncos are on 5th with 18. Yeah, so there is a buffer, but we need to kick on for that top 4. I reckon tons. We need to really show ourselves as that we're ready to take that step this year. That's what I see. NZ Rugby approached Cameron George to be the new CEO. Even the NZ was. Yeah, I watched some stuff from Devlin. He talked about the last CEO really blew it. He really botched it up for NZ Rugby. I mean, failed deals, loss of money, loss of revenue, NPC. I remember NPC used to be one of the biggest things in New Zealand. I loved NPC back in the day. The NPC's pretty much become just a second tier, comp. It was one of the mainstays, and that's kind of that becoming professional and kind of picking your route of success. And I think the fact that they're coming for Cameron George means they want a bit of that piece of that pie. They know New Zealand Rugby know that the Warriors and Rugby League is hot right now, and the way they're doing it with social media, with selling out stadiums. You have to engineer that. You can't just keep doing what you're doing. You have to change your mindset about how you do it. Look, I've always said this about rugby. If they went to a model like the NRL where you could buy players from everywhere, if it wasn't just purely my gripe is about just a structure of rugby. I'm more of a fan of a club like the Premier League, NRL, NFL. Like you can trade players, you can buy players from anywhere. That's the whole thing I haven't liked about rugby. It's all about New Zealand players developing them for the All Blacks. I'm like, bro, if you actually made a genuine competition out of Super Rugby, you could buy players from everywhere. It was about actually I think you could have one of the strongest comps in New Zealand. I think NRL would sit second, but the way it's designed, you're resting All Black players throughout the year. It's not a legit comp. You're always changing the format every year. You got conferences. You got like I kind of fell off Super Rugby in the 2000s once they started mixing it up too much, and it lost that purity for me. When it first came out, Super 12, fantastic, man, but it lost its soul along the way somewhere. Great point there. Great point there, Inspector. Guys, I want to go for another 10 minutes. I'll get these last few questions in. Yeah. Look, they're in a mess, man. They know they are. They're losing money. They're in debt. Yes, yeah, no, appreciate it, Licky. I saw this one. Zion Mayu, man. That's the nature of the business sometimes, man. Sometimes you have it good and you're looking for greener pastures. You got to find. This is part of the business. Zion's, I think, going to be a good player. You start to bounce around a bit once though. If you can't land a gig, Gus is looking again. Gus, I wouldn't sign to the Bulldogs in that sense. With Gus, he's probably they cutthroat over there. Gus is about bringing guys in. If you're not hitting the ground, we ain't got time for you. Whereas at the Warriors, they probably would have given him time, but who knows what the situation could be off field, could be anything. I don't want to speculate, but you did see that. 6 more wins are achievable out of the remaining games will make the top 8 the higher the bid. Yeah. I think there's definitely. Yeah, who has the range to feel? Yeah, this is exactly my point. Like those massive things that were massive, they've almost died out, and it's their own fault, in my opinion. Brings on home. I don't think so, Mackie. I don't think you can bring him home. You got the young pups coming through now. You got the Crosbys, and that they will be claiming spots. The NPC was better than NRL. Pretty much, East Coast playing the second division. Again, yeah, man. I can't lie. NPC was gangster. It was absolutely gangster back in the day. But again, they sold his soul out for the All Blacks, in my opinion, and all the resourcing went to that. Whereas you had some of the best provincial games, across the country, man. East Coast, Northland, all the provinces were awesome, and the games were well attended. It was something that we all, got behind in your provinces, man. But yeah, that's just the way the business goes. I think. Good time, man. Appreciate that, bro. Anyone want to help Radiant out, guys? You got spare 2 tickets for the bro? Help him out. Nearly sold out. That's fantastic, isn't it? That's great. And I know a lot of that will be Warriors fans going as well. Okay, guys, chuck in any last questions. I'm going to wrap up very, very soon. But I think we've had a good discussion tonight. I think we found solutions, and I know trust here on the members here, people watching, that you guys are level-headed people. You understand there's ebbs and flows of this whole NRL thing. Look, I would usually be down on that type of performance, but I can see some of the things that happen on the field. I can see, that was a kind of a flaw. I want to acknowledge like the best, some of the things we need to do is better as fans is not so much blame our own team, but acknowledge the opposition. I do give a lot of credit for Penrith. Doing a great job. Yes, there were some things I would have loved our boys to have done better. The errors, the penalties. But look, the NRL is relentless. It does not stop. We've got to prepare for a Broncos team who got off a win and are on are running it. They're 5th. They're feeling good about themselves. They'll feel comfortable playing it on Saturday. But man, I'm absolutely pumped. Just quickly going to get to the last. Yeah, it would be hard to justify bringing Zion back when we just send him on as well. We can't be a mum and dad's. You can't be. When your mum and dad send you out at 18, and then you have a bit of a rough time. You're finding flatting hard. Actually, it's not all what you thought it was. And come back to mum and dad's. Nah, bro, we're not mum and dad's house. We've got to move on. We've got young pups. We got the next kids are coming through. Mum and dad's got to feed those kids pretty much. You know what I mean? and we ain't got no more money in our budget left for Zion to come home and have, live off home, no rent type of thing. You know what I mean? So anyway, yeah, Jose, have a great one, man. See you tomorrow for sure. Yeah, Warriors Nation will be meeting at Kingston. Warriors Bays are all sold out. I'm excited for the game. Yeah, shout out to Warrior Nation. Go support the brothers. Fantastic that we've had so many games at Suncorp, but it's actually real cool. I'm sure, no doubt, Ash is going to come on tomorrow and probably you'll be at the game, no doubt. I'm pretty sure of that. Hard and fast, that's for sure. Yeah, there were some missed ones. Even though there's a high shot on that Sorens, I was thinking, oh, just send them to the bin, add it up. You know what I mean? That's what they used to do, the Warriors, anyway. Even if they miss one earlier on someone, or if they got another one, they'll find a way to double up. You know what I mean? So if we got away with a high shot from someone early in the game, if we did another mistake, they'd sin bin that, even though technically it wasn't a sin bin for that one. It was to get back on there, missing out the previous player. So, yep, just a hiccup, bro. I definitely feel so. But guys, man, yep, have a great evening. We'll catch you tomorrow night. Bring Ash in. Ash will have his thoughts as well. And we'll preview that Broncos game for you. Hopefully that teamless. Who knows? Tanner Boyd. That's exciting too. Something a little bit different. Does Berry come back in? Does Tane come to the wing? What are the changes now with the injuries? Now we're testing depth, all of those things. But guys, thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate you. Shut up 2.0, man. Wow. Love you, man. And look, feeling for you boys, bro. I really am feeling for you guys, man. But I love your energy. 2.0. I know if you're a Warriors fan, you'd be in the, you're just one of those hardcore fans of your team, and love to you, man. Trade him right now, man. Trade him right now. Love to you, my man. And as Tai said, check your super coaches as well. But yeah, back to 2.0, man. Thank you for the $2.99. We really appreciate you, man. Here at Wise Up TV, and love the stuff you're doing with ET. And we know we're having fun, and no doubt we're gonna cross paths. Would love to do some stream with you at some time, bro, and talk footy. But thank you, my man. And just quickly to everyone that's counting, JD, thank you for that membership. And Radiant, both of you, go to my community page on YouTube. There's the Discord link. Follow the steps and join the Discord. Welcome to come in and see some of the chat that everyone else is having. We drop in there at times to share other thoughts during the week. It's a place to kind of hang out, talk super coach, talk general stuff. So come in and drop in there. Okay, guys. Catch you tomorrow night at 8 p.m. New Zealand time. See you then. Up the wires as always. Peace. Catch you later.